Women members of Parliament have today demanded that the Marriage and Domestic Relations Bill be brought back to Parliament and be passed as soon as possible. The bill, which has been on the cards for the last 40 years, was withdrawn by government, which claims it is doing further consultations on it. Sometime this year, the Speaker pledged to ensure that by the end of the 8th Parliament, this bill would have been passed. Unfortunately, the 8th Parliament has just about 6 more days before it closes down business to pave way for the tenure of a new Parliament, the 9th one, which will replace it. It is thus not surprising that women are angry that yet again this bill is not about to see the light of day. Now, to gauge how important this bill is viewed by women, we have in our studios tonight the Executive Director of FIDA, Uganda, Nassali. Welcome to NTV.
Thank you, Farai.
Great to have you back on NTV 11 again.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
Now, let's look at why this bill hasn't been passed. I mean, obviously, as women activists, you are unhappy that the Speaker, for one, has reneged on his pledge that this would be passed before the end of the 8th Parliament. But why is it that it hasn't been passed, in your opinion?
In my opinion, the bill hasn't been passed because government has acted negligently to provide a conducive legal framework that protects family as a basic unit of society. I do not have any excuse whatsoever that I can attribute to for not having passed the bill, because this bill has been shelved since 1964. And enough consultations have been done subsequently every time the bill is tabled. So with that extensive consultation, I would have thought it deemable that government would pass the bill, particularly because it is its international obligation. And the FIDA committee has impressed upon government last year to pass the Domestic Relations Bill and to also pass the Sexual Offences Bill. What is surprising, one of the reasons which we find a little bit disturbing, is that some of the, it's in the name, that is called the Marriage and Divorce Bill. But I think that that is an excuse that does not hold water, because what is important is the content of the bill. Besides, it was previously called the Domestic Relations Bill, and still it was not passed.
Let's take a look at, I mean, obviously you may not know this, not being in government yourself, but if government claims that it is doing further consultations, who are they consulting? I mean, are they talking to you? And if so, how long will these consultations go on for? What is it that they're consulting about? Obviously, like I said, you may not know this information. But
personally, I think that consultation is an excuse, because substantive consultations have been done. And I think also the matter has been trivialized, because the Marriage and Divorce Bill is popularly known as a bill that women rights organizations and women are very interested in. But the stability of the family as a basic unit of society would, in many ways, promote the development of that family and also the society at large. The Domestic Relation Bill, or the Marriage and Divorce Act, does not discriminate. It's not a bill that's only to protect women, but a bill to protect the family.
so now let me put it to you. What next? 6 days to go for the 8th Parliament to finish and close its business. So there's no guarantee there that it will be passed within this current Parliament. If it then doesn't happen, what next for women activists and women's groups?
Having been disappointed since 1964, I think we have learned to deal with the consequences. As women's rights organizations, we have learned that we can use other avenues. For example, the court. The judiciary has set profound judgments that advance women's rights. For example, the Mayambalas case recognizes the right of a married woman to a matrimonial home. The Mufumi case is very categorical and should be celebrated. It recognizes that while individuals may give marriage gifts, a refund of bride wealth or marriage gifts is unconstitutional. So there are leverages that which we can expand women's rights within the community. We've also learned that it is very important to reach the grassroots community and engage them in a dialogue of how the law is a useful mechanism of solving disputes, and even then how to be proactive so that women and men, because when we're doing the community dialogues, we invite both all the community members who are interested, how the society can prevent the violation of rights.
Indeed. So that actually leads me to the final question I was going to put to you, and it's only because we are running out of time, but I was going to ask that when you say, you know, this bill has not been accepted or has been trivialized, it could be a fault on the part of you, the proponents of it, that you have not done enough to sensitize communities to take it, and particularly the grassroots, because urban communities, and it's fine, but the people at the grassroots. So when you mention that, how extensive has been your grassroots outreach program?
Substantively extensive, but it has also become a priority for the women's rights movement to reach the grassroots community. That notwithstanding, that is where we have been working. But I think what has to be done is to amplify the voices from the grassroots so that they can speak on their own and be heard.
And that is being done? Or
and
is it a plan?
And that is on the agenda.
Well, thank you very much, Maria Nassali. A pleasure, as always, to have you here on NTV.
Thank you.
I've been speaking to the Executive Director of FIDA, and we were discussing the Marriage and Domestic Relations Bill, which had been promised by the Speaker of Parliament would be passed by the end of the 8th Parliament. We're just 6 days away from that now. It doesn't look like there's much light at the end of the tunnel, but certainly as NTV, we'll continue to cover this very topical issue and see what happens when a new Parliament is sworn in. Who knows, they might have it top of their agenda. Time now to find out what the weekend's weather has.